Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Mr. Reality, and I'm joined by psychic medium Liz Cross. Liz, how are you?
Oh, well, we had a phenomenal CTT session this morning and even more phenomenal questions afterwards. It's a great day.
That's right. So, the consciousness transformation technique meditation that we do every Monday morning. If you're not a member, please join the Patreon, patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond, and join us on Mondays for free meditation.
Yes, it's amazing stuff. Anyway, we have not done Einstein before.
I can't remember you talking to him, and his name has been rattling around in my head. And I usually take that as a sign is A, I'm going crazy, or B, we should have Liz probe that person. So everybody knows E equals MC squared, but I thought we could see if we could bring in the consciousness of Albert Einstein and learn more about the mysteries of the universe.
Okay, yeah, okay. I have Einstein here. This is exciting.
Has he ever done one of these probes with psychics before?
Yes.
And is he currently incarnated as a human being, or is he waiting for the next role?
Are you currently incarnated? Not at the moment, but he has already come back once.
For a short time? Because I think he passed away in 1955. And so that was a short life if he came back and left before then.
Was that a short life? It was. It was a short life. Why? It's funny because he's showing me that he looks like he may have had polio. He came in as one of those rare cases after the polio vaccine was available, but his parents were anti-medical, and they believed in the power of prayer and all this stuff, and he ended up getting polio and he passed away.
So that's interesting
Interesting.
because he famously said God does not play dice with the universe and was critical of organized religion. So to come back so quickly in a religious family, how does he describe that his beliefs as Albert Einstein and that lifetime as a young child with stricken with polio?
I did not know that. He said it's all part of the plan. He's giggling. He's laughing about it. He's like, it's all part of the game. It's part of the roles that we play. So run that by me again. He said that God does not play dice with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? It means that God does not really have that strong of a hand in the individual outcomes.
How about his parents then? Did they have a plan for the outcome, or was it he himself that made that plan? This is an argument that you and I have a lot: free will versus determinism. So, does Einstein think he was placed into that life as a recompense for him saying that, or how did it evolve his soul as a child to die young with polio?
Oh, geez. Oh, God, this started out with bang, didn't it? So did you design that lifetime? You designed that. Did you? No, the parents designed that. Why? And you signed up to that contract. Yes. Why would you sign up for a contract like that? It was all to expand the consciousness, to prove that we are powerful beings and we don't need to rely on things outside of ourselves. Okay. And did that work in that lifetime? He says a little bit. So you signed up to that. You knew what was going to happen on a soul level. We all know what's going to happen on a soul level, he says. And will you redesign another lifetime like that ever again? Do you have to go through that? No, that lesson was learned, but it was about breaking them from religion. Now, this is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
And the reason it's interesting is because going forward, right? We keep getting this again and again, going forward into the future, like quite a way out into the future, well past our lifetimes here now, organized religion will be dissolved. It will be irrelevant. So this is all evolution. That lifetime was not only to affect their individual souls, but it was also contributing to evolution of the future lifetimes. Very interesting.
So is he? No one's mastered this hairstyle yet. So amazing. This is just from lexica.art. Despite not completing the unified field theory in your life, do you continue to work on that in the afterlife? And are you close to discovering it? And what can you share with us about it?
The unified field theory. Do you still work on that? No, he left that here on the earth plane with Einstein.
How many incarnations did it take to get to Einstein as a human being?
How many incarnations did it take to get to be Einstein as a human being? 500.
Does he still interact with his consciousness as Einstein?
No, that was a good question.
And so, what is Einstein that we're talking to now based on his consciousness and based on his soul?
What is that Einstein? So we're speaking to the soul. And that consciousness of Einstein is embedded in the soul, along with all the other lifetimes that he's experienced. So we're just speaking to one small fragment of the soul that is the consciousness of Einstein.
I always think of it as like the Trivial Pursuit game where you have to collect all of those pie pieces in your circle. Is it like that? Like each of the slivers of incarnation are a little piece of that pie?
Yes, but there's like a million of those.
Do those is the piece of the pie bigger as a human being or the same as, like, say, your incarnation as an elephant? Not saying that he was, but those animal lifetimes, are they, do they have the same resonance and the same lessons that human incarnations do?
That's a good question. Do you have so is your Einstein energy consciousness larger than other consciousness? Yes, it is. It is much larger. The larger the lifetime or the more, legacy that you leave, the larger the energy, because the legacy that you've left here on the earth plane is still feeding back into that particular fragment of consciousness, right? So it's still
Ah,
giving energy back and forth, and it's illuminating that aspect of consciousness, and it keeps it growing.
can he
So
describe reality to?
hold on,
Oh,
I
go
got a
ahead.
question. I'm so sorry. I have to do it as it comes in. So are we, as energetic beings, soul beings, are we quite malleable with the amount of energy that we have within us? Yes. And even though is our space finite as energetic beings, like we've often got the size of like a golf ball or something like that. Is it finite? Is it reserved to that? No, it can be as big or as medium or small as you want it, he says.
Okay, and that he's talking about the power that you have as a conscious being.
Are you talking about the power that you have? Yes, the energy that you emanate. So most of us do not have like basketball size, energy, and energy souls, right? So most of us are just, we fit in very nicely, we slot in. He doesn't either. He doesn't have a very large soul energy either. It's very just mainstream. So I'm asking him, then how is that portion of Einstein able to expand? Does that mean you have to lose other parts of energy and other places to expand that consciousness? Yes.
I just want to ask if he could explain reality to us. I mean, the reality that we
Oh,
see around us here in the earth plane, is that real? or is that just a shield or a facsimile or a game?
That is an excellent question. And by the way, folks, Mr. Reality, speaking of reality, you do have a tip jar in the comments. Sorry, I had to put that out there. You've come up with this probe all by yourself. You're asking these questions. Nobody helped you with these questions. So thank you. Let's ask Einstein. What is the reality? What does it mean to you? It's an assimilation. It's a simulation. It's what? Assimilation or a simulation? He's like Liz. It's a simulation. Okay. So
So,
does that mean that all of this does not exist? No, it exists. It does exist in physical form, but as you're going up through the layers from sort of earth plane on upwards, it's not manifested in physical form. It's more energy form.
okay, I was having this debate with myself on my early morning dog walk about free will versus determinism and the nature of reality in the simulacrum. So, can he tell us what we're living in, you and Liz and everybody listening here? Is this a simulation or is it reality? And let's ask that first.
Is this a simulation, what we're living in? It's part reality, part simulation. I mean, this is the design that came from source. So this is the idea, the simulated idea manifested in physical form.
What percentage of our lifetime on the earth plane in this incarnation has free will and which part is predetermined?
So as we are in physical bodies here on the earth plane, what percentage of that is free will? Okay, so in a physical body here on the earth plane, not up there where you are, where we are, what percentage is free will? About 20%. And that's about controlling emotions.
What do emotions do and how do they sway us one way or another?
What are emotions, first of all? Emotions are complex mathematical equations that manifest themselves to be felt in a physical form here on the earth plane, so that it determines and sort of pulls and sways and push pull us into the realm that we're living in. I don't even know what I just said, but that's what he told me.
So, does he believe that our consciousness influences the physical world that we're in?
Does our consciousness influence the physical world that we live in? Your consciousness is, speaking of the conscious mind, which is separate from the subconscious and the soul. The consciousness is assuming the physical reality that you live in, but it is not the real reality. The real reality is the soul reality. And the subconscious is just the storage base to move emotions back and forth around energetically throughout the body, outside of the body, through the biofield, back in. Yes.
So, there's a many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics that every possible outcome splinters off into a new parallel universe. Does he think that there's any meat to this theory, or is this just something in quantum physics make believe?
Is there any meat to this theory? No, it's not a good theory. The principle, he understands the principle, but the theory is wrong.
Okay. Does he believe that we have the power to get beyond the 20% free will capacity in our lifetime if we remove emotions from what drives our decisions?
Ooh, are we able to get past the 20%, increase the 20% free will if we just detach ourselves from our emotions? No, because the plan is already pre-programmed into the earth plane existence. Detaching your emotions, that was a good question, by the way. It only stalls out your ascension. So those people that have like very little empathy, that are very detached through
Hmm.
trauma for whatever reason, um, their ascension process is much slower than those that are attached. So those that are really sort of, they feel everything. They're in tune with the world, in tune with other people, in tune with the collective. They're sort of moving as a collective based upon those emotions and those feelings and those energetic wavelengths. Now, their ascension process is usually much faster and they're able to thrive more. I don't, and so I have to ask this question. So then, knowing that, Einstein, knowing that, why do so many souls come down here and have a life that detaches them from their emotions? Because it's the only way they can survive. But that's survival here on the earth plane, yes. But what about survival with the ascension process? It's like they're not so much concerned with the ascension process. They're more hyper focused on just their survival here on the earth plane.
Hmm. Do people
Some
reincarnate
souls,
down here because the earth plane is addictive, or are they actually trying to move towards ascension?
that's a good question. Some souls are not even interested in ascension, right? So
Right.
are they addicted to coming down here? No. He says the reality is not many really want to come down here and do this because they know it's going to be hell, it's going to be struggle. And that's where the free will comes in, that they're able to design the lifetimes that they want it. So they have no one else to blame but themselves. Okay, so you can't put the blame on source, you can't put the blame on others people, although I'm going to disagree with him in a second. You can't put the blame on them because you signed up for it. Now, I understand what he's saying, but I have come across two or three souls now in all the years I've been doing CTT, and I've come across two or three of them that absolutely refuse to make their soul contracts because they're at a loss of what to do. So then
Huh.
they allow other people in the soul family or other souls in the soul family to make those contracts for them, often parents or siblings or things like that. And they try to design it what they think is best for that soul to move forward into ascension. And I'm asking him, what about those people? He says, it doesn't matter, Liz. They still signed up for it. Well, what happens if they
Hmm.
don't sign up for it? Ooh, then they're a waste of energy and they have to face the consequences for that.
People say that time is the fifth dimension, and I was wondering, it moves forward. There's a linear arrow of time. Can you tell us, is time an illusion, and can we experience things
Mm,
that happened in the past just as easily as we experience the now and the future?
wow. Is time an illusion? No. Time is it attached? Its time is attached to gravity.
Ah, that's another subset I had. So, what creates gravity and how do they intermingle then, time and gravity on Earth and on other planets?
So what creates gravity? It's the earth plane force and the planetary alignment. It's so perfect that gravity exists here on the earth plane. Is that the only reason we have time? Yes, it provides a mathematical structure of time and space. Now, you and I, being remote viewers, we totally get that. That's the big part of remote viewing. So the second part of that question is can we experience, what was that second part?
Can we experience previous experiences just as easily as we experience the present and the future?
Can
And how would we
we
do that?
experience? Thank you. That was a good question. And I know you're thinking on your feet here, right? and you're doing a great job. Can we experience different aspects of that time easily? No, because your consciousness is our consciousness held down by gravity. Yes, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be
Mm.
held down by gravity. So the here and now is, you know, very sort of in your face. But what about people that have found ways to detach their consciousness? Yes, but they're part of their consciousness. So when they're detaching their consciousness, they're only detaching a part of that consciousness. Most of the most of the majority of the consciousness stays firmly attached most of the time. So it's only a part of the consciousness that is allowed to travel.
What's gravity like on the plane that you're on now, speaking to us from?
What's gravity like on the plane now that you are speaking to us from? There's no gravity. So what holds you, what locks you in to the spirit world? Like how do you get, if there's no gravity, how are you locked in there? It's a different type of energy. Are you locked in there? No. We can leave, we can go freely, but why would you
Oh, he
want
thinks
to?
so. But really, what is dark energy?
What is dark energy? It's the opposite of light.
Is it
It's
physical?
mathematically the other side of the equation. Wow. Okay. Now, I I wasn't great at maths, and I'm using the British pronunciation, which is plural, maths. I wasn't great at that, but you know where you have two sides of an equation. So XY blah 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 equals blah 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 blah, right?
Right. Don't use this as a study aid, but yes, go ahead.
Don't yeah, don't come to me for homework help. But dark in mathematical terms is the exact opposite of light. But there, there's a spectrum. So I'm asking him, but is it modified? Is that mathematical equation modified according to, like, some things are really, really dark and other things are just like slightly dark, right? And some things are really light and magnified and some things are just, light. So does every spectrum, like bar on that spectrum of light, have an exact opposite? Yes.
So
And
dark matter is, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
It's hypothesized that dark matter is missing mass in galaxies, and it's through gravitational effects that we see it and can observe it through telescopes. So, in your original works, you had supposed that you introduced a cosmological constant and then later discarded it. Was that cosmological constant, as some people have theorized, the dark matter missing component that you didn't think about in your own lifetime as Einstein?
Okay, my brain is fried. Can you break that down for me? Yeah, I don't know how you know all this stuff.
Did you know about dark matter in your Einstein life? And was that the cosmological constant that you discarded?
Did you know about dark matter in your Einstein life? He was aware that there was darkness, yes, and he always tried to find the calculation. He knew this even when he was on the earth plane, that everything was mathematical. And what was the other part of that question?
Well, let's just ask about dark matter specifically. Is it like antimatter? Is it like it can what is dark matter, that so we can understand it as a reference to all other matter in the universe?
Okay, so is it antimatter? It can be. It can be antimatter. Um, but it can also be lots of other things as well. There's many different variants of darkness, dark energy. It's a force.
How close are we to understanding the nature of everything and getting like a theory or mathematical equation to understand it all.
How close are we? Light years away. And that's part of the conundrum, right? We're not supposed to be able to figure all this stuff out.
It's interesting. We
If
were
we
talking
were,
about cosmological distances, and then he says we're light years away, like dark matter is. So,
is dark matter light years away? No, he says dark matter is here on the earth plane too. It just is in a different form. It's present here and now.
what can I do with it if I harness it?
Oh God. Now that's just a question. Mr. Reality is not dark. Okay.
No,
Because
dark
people
matter. Well, that's an
freak
interesting
out.
theory. Is dark matter then part of the dark energy matrix, or is it just a corollary to regular matter?
Ooh, is dark matter a part of the dark energy matrix? Not necessarily, but
Okay.
it's sort of like unclaimed energy that is available, but the only way that they can claim the energy, the dark side, is by using a soul to power it to come closer. Jeez. Okay. God.
Is 0 point energy a part of dark energy?
No, 0 point energy stands alone.
Is that
What?
how much
Sorry, what
zero
is
point
zero
energy
point?
is accessible?
What can you explain to the crowd what, because you know all this stuff and I've heard
Well,
it. But can you
there's
explain
zero
what
point
zero?
energy, which is energy that is not being used within the ether of the matrix. And there's some speculation in remote viewing circles that if you can tap into that 0 point energy by canceling out gravity and sending an energy pulse into uh, high density liquefied materials, that you could cancel out gravity and use that for electrogravitics. And if you can harness electrogravitics, which is electricity and gravity and like high periodic elements liquefied, then you can access an immense field of energy. And 1 tablespoon of that 0 point energy would be equal to the power in all the oceans on Earth. So the question
So
is then, that's my little
it's not
explanation.
labeled. It's not labeled energy. So most energy, all energy is labeled, but 0 point is not. The
It's
problem
not
is
it's
trying
not
to
designated for something to do then, he's saying.
right. Exactly. It's not designated. It's unlabeled energy, but the problem is being able to grab it, right? It's kind of off limits in a lot of ways.
Well, that's why my machine is coming out, but we'll talk about that another time. Um, let's talk about artificial intelligence. We're seeing now this sort of push towards artificial intelligence with a lot of high tech fields. What are his thoughts about AI and what it will do to humanity?
Artificial intelligence. What do you think about it? Wow. It's the humanity killer.
Yikes.
I know.
How so?
Do we want to know? And everybody's going, yes, Liz, we do. We do. Why do you say that? Because it's going to kill a lot of our reason for living, as in our sense of purpose. A lot of people find, and the majority of the people find, that their sense of purpose is getting up every day and making a positive contribution. A lot of people like to work. They like to work. They love to work.
Right.
There's
I enjoy
workaholics, right?
doing yard
I
work.
agree.
Yeah.
I love to work too, right? I do. It makes you feel good. It makes you have a sense of
Sense
pride.
of accomplishment. Right. Pride. Nothing wrong with
Exactly.
that.
AI is going to rob us from that. It's
And so
going to steal that
will this
ethic
artificial
away.
will the artificial intelligence or the automatons develop a soul, or will it just, well, let's ask that, will the automatons or the Optimus or the robots or the avatars or the AI or the NVIDIA chips develop a soul?
No, because the soul has to come from source. They will
Okay,
make
so
them very close to mimicking human behavior in the future, quite a way out in the future, actually.
right,
But as far as having that God particle, right? That's not going to be present. Now, we have to ask this question. Can people manipulate a piece of source of God particle and put it in and label it for themselves and put it into the automatons? No, nobody can tear a piece of source but source.
well, what I'm seeing, at least in my own remote viewing sessions, is that in the far future, Carl Jung described the idea of this collective consciousness. And I feel that people are going to falsely give these automatons this idea of a consciousness, which is then going to diminish the effectiveness and what we see as our own humanity.
So let's ask that question, because whether it's living or dead, whether it's an inanimate object or it's a living object, it still
Right. You're
has
giving it that
consciousness.
power.
So will it have a consciousness? Yes, it'll have a very powerful consciousness, and humans will give a lot of credit over to the consciousness of these automatons. Now, what was the other part of that question? I'm sorry, these are complex
Is it going to
questions.
diminish the human soul or the human consciousness level by, giving part of our soul, even by giving energy to something that's not real? We're going to diminish the value of the overall collective consciousness of the planet.
Are we going to diminish the value of the soul? No, the value mathematically is still going to be there. It's just going to be much harder for the human consciousness to connect with that soul consciousness. So it's a tool of the dark to drive us further and further away from our brain consciousness or our human consciousness to the soul consciousness. We're going to start moving farther away from who and what we are. So are we going to become more robotic? Yes, we are going to. We're almost like going to try to be like them.
Yeah, I've been noticing more people thinking in prompts versus thinking in English. So, but speaking of mathematics, which he brought up, you and I and the group that we use are always trying to crack the code of manifestation. Oh, is manifestation a belief, or is there a mathematical principle at work in manifestation that we don't have access to here on the earth plane?
Is manifestation a belief? Yes. But is it a mathematical code? It's all of the above. You have to crack the code within yourself, and that has to do with your belief system as well and how powerful you are.
And
But,
that resonates
most
exactly with
people,
what we said this morning. Yeah,
yeah, isn't that in alignment to our CTT group this morning? Because that's what we worked on this
a
morning,
million
was
percent.
believing
Yeah.
the power within ourselves. And he has just confirmed that. See, I knew that. Wow. And the only reason I knew that, I came to that discovery last week, and it was sort of hypothetical, right? That the reason I was able to manifest something without even thinking about it, without even asking about it, not even thinking that I could manifest it, something showed up on my doorstep. And I had done a CTT session prior to it showing up on the weekend about, you have to trust and believe in yourself. And obviously, because I'm facilitating the session, I obviously received some benefit from that as well. And next thing you know, I didn't even have to ask, it just turned up. Now, I have to ask him, when we are resolving this belief system that we are powerful beings and we can manifest things, Is that a mathematical equation? Is that what processing is? Exactly. So when we're processing, we're basically solving mathematical equations within ourselves. So we're converting one form of energy into another form of energy. And so it does its own mathematical calculations, but it uses us as an energy source to move that energy around.
Are there mathematical limits to what we can achieve through belief and changing our belief system?
Are there mathematical limits? No, we are unlimited beings.
Are we unlimited on the earth plane or only in the God plane?
Are we unlimited on the earth plane? You can be unlimited on the earth plane, but it takes a lot of work and belief and intention.
And so there's no single formula or singular formula, but everyone has their own formula to unlock this ability to manifest and ability to be their
Hmm.
best on earth.
Is it a one size fits all? No, because you're taking all of the experiences, unique experiences of that soul in this current human or whatever body, right? Not that animals can listen to this and start tapping their paws, but it's about taking that experience and knowledge and wisdom and converting it into something else, more wisdom, more knowledge, and a better understanding of who and what you are. And that's when you're unlocking the powers of manifestation.
So the things that we work on in our consciousness transformation technique are our consciousness, our fears. Is it our unconscious beliefs or our conscious beliefs or all the accumulation of those lifetimes that hinder our ability to manifest here? What's the biggest stumbling block, I guess, to manifesting?
What's our biggest stumbling block to manifesting? It's not knowing what is blocking you, right? Because we all have blockages, but we don't know what is blocking us. So you can spend a lifetime trying to manifest, but if you don't hit the underlying root cause, which is blocking you, and so let me ask, is CTT the go-to? Is that the best formula out there for manifesting? It's up there. It's up there. I mean, there's other types of formulas. He's talking about frequency, but it's pretty up there. And we do how long did, but it's not a one size fits all. So it can take longer for other people to use the CTT and manifest things. It can take a lifetime, but it's the journey.
Did you ever
There's
see any
more to be
UFOs?
gained. So listen, he's saying there's more to be gained in the journey than the outcome.
I wrote a paper on that my freshman year of college that it's more important that look around the journey than the journey itself. So I knew that like 100 years ago in first year in college. Who are we if we are not ourselves? What's the title of that paper that I wrote that I'll see if I could dig out again.
Wow.
Um, does he have any other suggestions that people can do in their everyday life to get them closer to stamping out their negative belief systems and doing more consciousness work?
Run that by me again. Sorry.
What does Einstein think people should do daily, listening right now? And please like, share, and subscribe to this video. If what people can do right now to make their lives better and get closer to ascension in this lifetime.
What can people do now, daily, to make their lives better? Well, first of all, you have to let go. And I'm saying let go of what?
Goodbye.
Your problems, your struggles, right? You have to understand this is much bigger than you could possibly imagine. And you have to see where you fit in with that. And it's about finding a modality that resonates with you, that can facilitate the processing for you. So, there's all kinds of ways to solve a problem, he says, meditation, hypnotherapy, past life
Hammers. Yeah.
regression, scalar, but it's important that the problem is solved. Most people, he says, are caught up in their daily problems. They can't even think about ascension or being better people. They're so trapped. They need to strengthen. So for those types of people, he says, they need to work on making their consciousness strong and not fall apart at any given problem. You've got to keep pushing through because it's the problems that are the obstacles that hold you back from ascending. A lot of people can't work through their problems anymore. That he says they're popping pills, they're smoking stuff, they're doing whatever they can to
And that's a
avoid
diversion from the
actually.
problem. It's not a solution, it's an
Right.
escapism.
It's a diversion, exactly. So they spend their lives dodging and diverting from these problems. And then when they get there, there's very little ascension on the other side. So then they have to repeat, rinse and repeat again. But
Hmm.
problem solving is just like solving a mathematical equation. You have to look at it at how am I going to work my way around this problem? And you might not. Some problems are too big, like diseases and health and, you know, brain issues and disabilities and things like that. Sometimes those problems are too big to solve. It's about creating, and he's showing me like a structure, a mathematical structure around that problem. So now you're going to have to create a bypass around that problem, but you have to stop just sitting in your problems.
Could you just divide everything by zero to solve the problem?
Do you divide everything by zero? He goes, I wish it was that easy.
Did he ever see a UFO in his lifetime or any
Many.
other extraterrestrials?
Did you ever see? Yes, he did several UFOs, and he had what he says are several encounters of where energy. Could you see energy? He could see energy. Were you psychic? He was very psychic, as Albert
Hmm.
Einstein. Okay, so you could see energy, yes, and he would often have visitations from different types of energy, and he would call them down. And would you talk to them? He says, yes, I would try to communicate with them. And that is how I understood energy on the level that he did. I mean, yes, he was a genius. Yes, we know that. But it was more to it than that. It was more than just brain processing power.
Did those entities or energy systems enhance his cognitive functions and his brain?
Did those energy systems enhance your cognitive function in your brain? Absolutely, he says, 100%.
And so, coming down before he was Einstein, up in the God plane, did he say, I'm going to be a smart mathematician, a physicist, and I'm also going to talk to aliens? Was that in his life path, or was that something that the 20% that was free will down here?
What, and that was that part of the life path? It was more about I want to be I want to be surprised by what I
Okay.
can achieve and the knowledge that he could gain in this lifetime.
So
So
there is a
there were a few surprises slotted in his lifetime. I'm saying, okay, but who chose those surprises? The board. Okay. So I don't know if we've spoken about this before. There is a board up there, right? I've gone up to that board several times and shook my fists and slammed my fist down on their table, and I've been angry with them and I've argued with them. And they're just like, oh, yeah, Liz, whatever. She's back, and then I say what I have to say and I leave, but it didn't actually change much of anything.
they
This
just
is when
laugh when
I
you're
would
gone.
go into my fights with the spirit world, right? I would fight, I wanted things a certain way, and things were not designed in my life path that way. Of course, now I understand why, but
Right.
it was a fight I was really determined to win at the time. So you went to the board, and the planning board, he's telling me. And you said, surprise me. But
How
did
many
they
members are on the
surprise you?
planning board?
Oh, how many numbers are on the planning board? How many? 100.
Is that just his planning board, or is it the whole totality of Earth Humans planning board 100, or is it different by geographical region?
Is it different by geographical region? Sometimes it can be, but is that all the total? No, that's not the total. So does each soul on the planning board have a different task? Yes, a different area and aspects of the complex human life, the structure. And so when you went to them and you said, surprise me, did you say surprise me with the good, bad, and the ugly? No, no, no. It was surprise me in an enlightening way.
Ah, that's an interesting query and request. What is
Uh,
Einstein's
Full of pitfalls. Yes.
greatest sadness about his life as Einstein? What does he wish he would have done?
What do you wish you would have done? Do you have any regrets? Oh, he has loads of regrets. Loads. I'm like, what? So can you name? Well, there's a lot of things that he wanted to solve and he wasn't able to in this lifetime. And I'm saying, but does that mean you're going to come back in another lifetime, a similar figure as Einstein? He says, yes, if I get permission. And I'm saying, well, okay, so what other regrets? And a lot of unfinished business. He was a very difficult person to get along with. He was totally absorbed into his work, often ignored his family, didn't pay much attention to them at all. He was temperamental, he was volatile. You didn't interrupt him. He was always in the search for admiration for who he was and what he did. And he paid very little attention to his family.
There's
And
some
he says that's
speculation
something. Mhm.
that he stole the mathematical equations from Maleva Merrick, his first wife. Can he put that to bed or confirm that some of his work was based on her work?
Did you steal any mathematical equations from her? Ooh. He says, I didn't steal them, I borrowed them. Gee,
um,
that's not good.
I wonder if he could tell us about Life 362 as a diversion from Einstein and what he learned in that life and what it was like. Just as a, not every life is as important, but what did 362 give him?
Life 362. He's showing me a baby boy. He likes to be male in a lot of his lifetimes, with a very serious illness, fever, and yet he was still trying to be happy. It's almost like he was sitting in some sort of like high chair or some sort of something like that, and very primitive looking one. But he says, and I was trying to make the best of the bad situation and not affect my family and let them know how sick I actually am or was.
It's
Um,
interesting
he
that he
didn't
can.
live he didn't live for very long in that lifetime.
Where is the information about that lifetime stored in the space that he's at now?
Where's the information about that lifetime stored? It's in like the soul library. So I'm saying, is the Akashic records, is that within our soul? No, that's separate. And I'm saying, but so we have a library system within our soul. Yeah, it's encoded in the DNA, and you
And
have to be able to find it.
how much of that do we have access to down here on the earth plane?
In this current lifetime, how much of that do we have access to in the current lifetime? None. We're not supposed to be able to access it at all. We've just found workarounds, but we're using people like me and remote viewing and things like that. We've just found workarounds to those problems. But really, but this is all going in towards this lack of organized religion that he was talking about, we're going to be able to tap into it more and more and more, just like the primitive humans with their very limited brain capacity. They had to learn to read energy and they were more spiritual. They didn't have an organized religion. So I'm saying, is the pendulum going to swing the other way? And he says yes, but with more use of brain capacity than ever before. So I'm saying, with each passing generation, are we actually expanding our brain capacity? And he says no, not necessarily. It's going to start shifting back. So we're going to start having a more diminished brain capacity, but the brain capacity is still higher than the primitive humans that did not have organized religion. Good grief.
Wow. All right. One more roll of the dice for Albert Einstein. Tell us about lifetime 149 as a human being.
He was a female. It was very tribal. He had a lot of children. This first wife was his husband or mate in that lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been together a long time, but it's always a tit for tat situation. Okay. Very competitive with one another. That's why they can't get along. Somebody has to have a more passive role. And these two personalities, they just can't do it. They compete.
And yet they continue to try. Well, I'm going to have to listen to this one 6 more times. I appreciate you, Liz, very much. And I appreciate each and every one of you out there. And Maleva Merrick, I'm sorry I'm butchering her name, but we appreciate your contributions to this as well. And Albert Einstein for helping illuminate the mysteries of the universe.
Wow. And don't forget, Mr. Reality did a lot of thinking on his feet here, right? He obviously researched this subject even more. I didn't know what we were covering today. So thank you, Miss Reality. You, as always, have done another excellent probe. You've set it up really nice and thorough for us.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Oh, listen, we learned a lot, but you do have a tip jar listed down below. Please be generous and just show him some love. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, everybody.
Excellent.
Blessings to all of you.